What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
I don't want you to complain about your choice afterward.
Alright, a monster, then? Do these create monsters who you'll repel Labyrinth challengers with?
Something like that.
He was always super sharp with things like this. Satisfied enough with my guidance, the three of them picked up their black orbs and sank into contemplation. These items were called Master Cores, and the magical core of Charybdis came in handy with developing them. I had that kept in isolation within my stomach, but Raphael had finally finished analyzing it. It was the core of a large monster, as well as the root of its power. Apparently, in the transformation into Demon Lord, I had consumed all the negative energy inside, so it was now an empty shell. That made it perfect for housing a soul vessel, and now, here we were. After a few moments, the magicules in the air began to interact with the master cores, creating monsters, the exact ones each bearer imagined.
Well, pretty neat, huh? And like Veldora said, we can use these monsters to engage parties in the labyrinth. That's what I gathered all of you here for.
That wasn't the only reason, but nobody was listening anyway. They were all marveling at the monsters they created. Meanwhile, I was busy making my own monster, a ghost, a transparent, disembodied soul floating in the air. I'll omit its stats, but one special skill it had was cancel physical attack. As a ghost, no physical attack worked on it. It couldn't attack physically, either, of course, magic was its only offense. Next up was Veldora. There was now a skeleton standing next to him. It couldn't cast magic, although it could learn how later on, with the right evolution, it could also master battle will. Milam, meanwhile, had generated a bouncy, lustrous blob. It had no limbs, its color a garish red that demanded your attention. It was a slime.
Why do you make a slime? Are you picking on me?
No, you asked me to go with something I liked. What's the issue?
Now she was firing back at me. Ah well, she was clearly happy, at least, her eyes all but shouting, slime, out loud. I was wondering about the day glow red, however. Finally, we had Ramirez. What was this? A knight? Or a suit of armor? Yes, it was a suit of living armor, to be exact, full plate, but looking worn out for some reason. It was still the largest out of the 4 monsters we made. Maybe Ramirez's hang-ups about her size drove her to imagine something big. The fact that it was completely empty inside was pretty appropriate for her. Everyone peered closely at the monsters they just willed to life. But the surprises were only beginning.
Alright, so listen. As Veldora pointed out, I'm thinking about using the monsters we created to dispatch the intruders inside our labyrinth.
Intruders?
Yes. These monsters are the guardians of the labyrinth, so anyone stepping inside has to be intruders, right?
Ah, I see.
Huh? What?
Indeed. Remember, Ramirez, we are running this labyrinth. Calling them challengers is rather strange, if you think about it.
Yes, now that you mention it, you're right.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Veldora's stepping in to explain matters was convincing enough for Ramirez. Milam, meanwhile, pretended she knew the entire time. I doubted she did at all, but I needed to move things along.
Right, so we'll be taking on the intruders with these, but do you think it'll be possible at all?
Of course not. They are far too weak.
My armor looks pretty cool, but I'm not too optimistic, no.
Rimuru, I'm disappointed in you. You know I'm too smart a girl to expect anything from these.
Just as I thought, they were spouting off whatever popped into their minds. Why were Ramirez and Milam acting so haughty with me? That set me off a bit, but I needed to act my age here.
Well, the story doesn't end when you create them. The real show begins now, so I'd like all of you to sit down and relax, okay? Now, what I'd like you to do is point your pseudo-souls at your monster and chant, possess, out loud.
There were some incredulous looks, but they all settled into their seats for me. We had some pretty comfy chairs in this conference room. The cushioning was excellent. Then, all at once,
Possess.
The moment we all said it together, the pseudo-souls in our hands lit up as they were absorbed into the monsters, fusing with the master cores inside them. This resulted in a complete avatar core, and when it was done, my consciousness blacked out. In another moment, my view had changed. My magic sense, something I had on at all times, immediately shrank down its range, drastically affecting my vision. I had my 5 simulated senses now, so it was still far better than my first few days in this world, but the other 3 had never experienced anything like that, so it must have been a bear to deal with. I looked around as I thought about this. In my hazy vision, I could see a skeleton stretching out its legs, a slime zooming around at surprising speed, and a suit of living armor methodically toddling around like a classic wind-up robot. All three of them had successfully possessed their monster. Even now, I could feel myself getting used to this. It felt far more natural than anticipated, like it was my own body. A body that was far less capable than my own, however, so it was hard to move around. But once you figured out how you moved, it got easier to predict how your body would react to your will. You didn't need long at all to move it exactly as intended. The same was true for the other three.
This is great.
After a few minutes of testing out their new bodies, they all shouted in unison.
Isn't it? What do you think of my research, huh?
Amazing. Truly amazing, Rimuru.
Veldora cried.
That's classic Rimuru, isn't it? No wonder I thought you were such a great guy.
Ramirez agreed.
I knew it all along.
Said Milam.
I've always believed in you.
They were hopelessly wrapped around my finger. But hey, glad they're happy.
Well, looks like we've got a resounding success. And now that you've all jumped into those monsters, I don't think I need to explain what we have to do I?
Veldora chuckled.
Such a silly question. So instead of having the monsters do our bidding, we take matters into our own hands? What a creative idea, Rimuru.
Exactly.
I replied.
Although, I wish I could have tried conquering the labyrinth in this form.
So this is what a video game is like. I've heard about this.
What? Is that true, Veldora?
Said Milam.
Master, so we'll beat up the enemy like this, then? And then we can make these bodies learn new things, too.
Ramirez jumped in. Gotta hand it to Veldora. He immediately guessed what I wanted to do. Yes, this was basically a pseudo-MMORPG, although, there wasn't anything too massive about our party of 4. Maybe just an MMORPG, then? It doesn't matter. The key thing here, the concept, was that we could now enjoy the very labyrinth we expended the effort to build.
Well put, Veldora. You can nearly read my mind, I see. But don't get the wrong idea yet. Yes, I developed this with an eye toward playing the labyrinth like a game, but we have other business first, don't we?
We do. We need to use these bodies to dispatch the challengers. I mean, the intruders causing us problems, then?
He got it, all right. Yes, I thought about using these avatars, these monster bodies, to interfere with Green Fury's rapid advance. And like Ramirez said, I had thought of several ways to enjoy these bodies, leveling them up to evolve them, learning how to fight with the restricted skills they had, and so on. Still, what I really wanted to do was go have fun beating up monsters and challengers. I had no idea I'd invent something so useful just to make that happen.
Of course, once everything was ready, I was just thinking that we could enjoy conquering our own labyrinth as well.
I said.
Ah, right. We'll be able to test out our work, huh?
And with these avatars, we can't exercise our full powers, right? So I thought it'd help us get another perspective on problems in the labyrinth.
Yes, true. And the master of the labyrinth taking on challengers himself, some people might see that as unseemly. But copying my soul into a weaker beast like this.
Right. This way, we can beat up intruders as regular old labyrinth denizens, not as true dragons or demon lords.
Now I get it. This sounds fun.
Milam was certainly convinced. Given the nearly infinite power she lobbed around all the time, a much more inconvenient form must have seemed novel to her. She looked really excited about it.
Well, shall we spring into action?
Yes, why not clean up the garbage before enjoying our own game?
Said Veldora.
The time has come to fully stretch out my arms, I'd say.
Said Ramirez.
I can't wait to test all 48 of my finisher moves.
I'm not sure how any of this works, but this seems kinda fun to me.
Milam cheered. We all triumphantly stood up. Time to go down there, get in Green Fury's way, and ensure they couldn't challenge the bottom floors for a little while. How would we do that? Well, I had a few other schemes in mind. First, we needed to get used to our avatars. After that, the next important thing was equipment. We all put on resurrection bracelets with infinite charges, ensuring we could die as much as we wanted, but that wasn't enough. Our avatars were freshly born and extremely low level. Pushovers like us wouldn't deter Green Fury, no matter how well we surprised them. If we had some decent equipment, though.
Right, we'll definitely want to get some equipment together. Let's go to Kurobi's and have him craft some weapons and armor.
Ah yes, indeed. I'm a mere skeleton as it is, after all.
You fools. I'm a slime built for speed and mobility now. I could work just fine in the labyrinth.
I'm just a suit of armor. Can I put more armor on over this?
Oh, We can figure something out. Let's just head over. And if you don't need equipment, Milam, just stay here.
Don't give me that nonsense. I can hold my own as it is, but I still need some gear.
Talk about selfish. She should have just said so. I wanted some equipment as well, so I prepared to undo the possession and leave.
To go back, just picture the words separate in your mind. That'll bring you back.
I gave them a quick demo, putting the avatar core in my pocket as I taught them. These avatar cores had the monster encoded in them, one per core, and they couldn't be shared between different people. These cores were a second self for you, really, so I wanted to be sure people took good care of them.
With these,
I added,
you'll be able to call on your second form anytime you like.
Pretty neat item, definitely. We'll need to think about what to do with them while we're busy possessing.
Veldora and Ramirez, back in their original bodies, stood up from their chairs.
Maybe fit it on our bracelets so we don't lose them?
Suggested Veldora.
That's a good idea. I think I'll do that.
Said Ramirez. They both played around with the avatar cores in their hands. I think I'll do that with mine as well. But what about Milam?
Hey, Millie?
I'm gonna go like this.
Before I could call for her, Milam, in slime form, was digging her way into my pocket.
Okay, let's go.
She shouted, bossing me around and demonstrating her utter lack of interest in listening to me. She must have really liked that body. Pretty childlike of her, which, yeah, she is a child. Calling a child childish wasn't very constructive, so I gave up on scolding her and got going. We were at Kurobe's workshop.
You there, Kurabe?
Oh, Sir Rimuru, what brings you here today?
Kurabe came right up when I asked for him. Seeing Veldora and Ramirez with me surprised him.
Well, we're looking for some weapons.
I said as we walked inside. I hadn't been around for a while, but the workshop definitely had more people now, monsters included. It was scorching hot as usual. Temperature didn't affect me, so it was fine, but working in here must have been grueling for the others.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Night Gazer, Charlie Kale Tesoro, Fennec Foxy, It's Vix, Abdullah Al-Saif, Ice B, Wilfred Miller, Rembaru, Black Marshmallow, and last but not least, shoutout to Yusef BTR. I'll see you guys in the next video.